Welcome to Turning Tuesday. This week, I made massive mistakes. I broke a tool, and yeah, learned some hard lessons. So, this week I am making something a little bit different, and I wasn't entirely happy with how it came out, but it was a prototype, and for that purpose, it was fine. And so, what this is a combination of two things. I was inspired by something I saw on someone's desk at work, and so I decided I wanted to have a little play and build something similar. And so I started by grabbing two different pieces of wood, and look, Mal, no ring. So my wedding ring has been causing me a bit of pain lately, so it's now hanging around my neck, which is probably a good thing since it's quite dangerous to turn with. If I did ever catch it, it would probably definger me because it was quite tight. So, you know, it's probably a curse and a compliment at the same time. Stay safe, folks. Anyway, so I am sitting here using a standard grind bowl gouge, and it's a nice U shape. This tool is one I picked up down in Turn SA. It is a wood fast tool. It is high speed steel, and I am still trying to figure out which profile I like best on it. So yeah, I've gotten used to using this on the exterior mostly. Still get the occasional skate back because I'm still not 100% confident. Anyway, so I started here by making a little bowl, and I knew that what I was making was going to be small, so I decided to use an even smaller chuck for this one. So I've marked out for my other El Cheapo chuck, which I think is a porchetta. It's nothing special, it's just the one from Timbicon. So that's a bit of fun. Anyway, so just sitting here grinding through using the standard grind, and I wanted a little rim on this, and you'll understand why shortly. So I'm turning here a piece of Red Ironbark, and after the Red Ironbark I got a piece of Claret Ash. Now I noticed I still had a little flat spot there, so I just used the wing there to knock it down a touch. And right there, I leave the start of the lip. Now I decided I need to finish forming that tenon, and I'm just doing a really nice gentle cut there to try and put a little bit more of the curvature. Now I'll pull out my P&N skew, which was a recent little bargain that I picked up. So I saw a set of 16 tools, and I went and grabbed them because 6 of them were P&N. So right now I am making a nice little cove inside the rim, and then I was like, hang on, I have a tiny little round nose scraper that will do the job. It did do the job, but it also did a little bit of tear out, so I had to sand that away. So far I've used the P&N square end scraper, the P&N spindle gouge, the P&N skew, and I haven't used the P&N bowl gouge yet. And that's for a very specific reason. I changed the grind on it from what the person had, and I am going to be using that as a micro bevel, or a bottom feeder as some people call it. It's the same thing, it's just a really steep edge and allows you to do underbites a little bit easier, as well as the bottom curvature of bowls. Just knock that corner out nicely. Do it all with a bowl gouge instead of having to rely on scrapers. Don't get me wrong, I'm still going to be using scrapers, but oh, isn't this wood gorgeous? Look at those grain patterns starting to pop. So I did a layer of Triple E here, and then I went and put some of my custom wax on. And the reason for the wax and the extra hardening stuff here is because this will be in contact with soil and water. So I'm hoping this is going to be a little cactus pot. And yes, I do go the whole way through because it's intentional. And whoop. Yep, that happened. So, this is the first time that I've really stuck with this tool for following, and I wasn't really confident with it because last time I tried to use this one I got a lot of skate back. And I found that this tool is better for pushing than it is for swinging. And you'll notice me try here and get a couple of skate backs. And I suspect that's just me not being sure of what the bevel is. But as you can see here, just holding it at about 2 o'clock and swinging in. Getting a nice little catch, popping it out of the tenon. I did stop and check that I hadn't broken the tenon. I hadn't. Moving on. As you can see here, I'm holding it up on about a 45-degree angle to reach center. I'm just doing a nice gentle cut in. I am sitting at about 2 o'clock with the bevel open. So it's not fully open. It is swung around a little bit. I am still going to get some skate back. I just opened it up to about 1 o'clock there, so that it was a bit more of an aggressive cut, but I also went in as a light pass. So, just making sure I'm controlling the tool and not letting the tool control me. So the tool is in control of the tool. Now as you can see, I'm pointing the nose in. I have got the tool sitting at about 230 at the moment. And I'm applying backward pressure in while doing a little bit of swinging. And this is just trying to get used to the tool because I really haven't got enough hours in it to be confident with it. As you can see, just getting a nice little skate back there and obviously swearing at myself because that's what I do. So that is now open at about 1 o'clock. And I'm trying to go around a little too far again and get that skate back again. But the tool's also about 3 o'clock there, like it's almost fully closed. So I think I needed to open a little bit more to avoid that skate back, give it a chance to bite in properly. And I don't know, it's going to be a bit more practice until I'm used to it, I think. I am getting some really nice curlies off some very hard wood. This is Red Ironbark. It's not as hard as Grey Ironbark, but it is still very hard. So when it's green, it is about the same hardness as what Claret Ash is hard. But when this is solid, it's about what She Oak is. So it's interesting that it has that much of a difference. The Casuarina is usually one of the hardest. But Ironbark is right up there with it. Gotta love Australian wood. I'm now at the point where I don't trust the tool out as far. And so I'm going to come back with old trusty here, my swept back 55-degree bevel, swept back bowl gouge, and just come down there where I know the tool, I know the angles, and just trust myself because I want nice thin walls on this. I didn't go overly thin because I knew what the purpose of this project was. And yes, there is a hole because that's intentional. Unlike Sid's at Turn SA, this hole was most definitely intentional. Sid can also confirm multiple days before I told him I was going to do this. So what you see there is what I could see as well. So I had no choice but to pull the tool out and give myself a little bit of visual clearance there. So I'm down to about 5 mil at the moment, and I'm just going to take it down to about 3 mil. I'm just doing a really nice gentle pass, giving it a nice swing around, and then I will pull out my round nose scraper because I'm nowhere near deep enough yet. I hit the right hand side of that tool and got flipped around. This one is a Robert Sorby 32mm that I picked up in the collection that I grabbed on Friday. So it's 30mm by, I'm pretty sure it's only 6mm thick. 32 by 6, I'm pretty sure. And that left an absolutely gorgeous finish. So I'd never used a Sorby tool outside of the Woodcraft Guild. And now that I've got one in my collection, I really appreciate the quality of steel that is. I also noticed when I was putting my profile on the scrapers, so I had this one and I had another one, which was a record power one. When I noticed this one didn't get hot. Record power got hot, this one didn't. So I found that interesting, and it definitely says a lot about the quality of steel. Just using my coloured back paper there, cloth back, whipping through the 400. So 180 through 400. It was a really nice finish off the tool. And then I'm just using some Triple E, throw some wax on it, and that one is done. Now that bit I was very happy with. That little piece of the project, very, very happy. This bit of the project, not so much, and is where I made some borderline catastrophic mistakes. And I got extremely lucky. Anyway, so what I'm going to do here is just round up the sides, and I'll do 2 passes of this, and then I will move on to creating a shape. So, up at the chuck end of this blank, there is some cracks running through it, and I knew I'd be getting rid of those. So, I chose to make this end the top, and I'm just doing another pass there, finishing it up, making sure it's all under control and round, or close enough to round. So yeah, there's a crack that goes about halfway up, and I knew I wasn't going to keep it. So first thing I'm going to do here before forming the shape properly is just get rid of my old texture marks. And I'm going to put my shark jaw profile on there and put a little tenon, which is also the top of the piece. With a straight tenon on this one, didn't go with the fitting in. And then I started playing with a little bit of shaping, trying to figure out what I was going to do. At this point, I knew what the end product was going to be, but I didn't know what profile I was actually going to give it. So I took it close to the line, and now I'm using the P&N skew just to take it back in. I think that's a 16mm skew. Not very wide at all, just nice. And holds its edge beautifully. So I've now marked out for the size of the foot of the pot, and I'm just going to start eating in and get down to give it a place to sit. And I realized that I was still running slow from when I marked the tenon. Just using that skew as a negative rake scraper. Flip it over, sharpen that corner. Get a little flip around on the tool because I hit the other side. No damage done. Double checking the foot works. It does work, but it rocked. So I grabbed my little round nose scraper and just started working it down to give a nice little inset in there. So I wanted that concaved so that any water that goes through is captured. Because the idea of this is going to be for a cactus or some sort of succulent that isn't overly reliant on water. And the idea is that it won't be overwatered, so it's only catching the occasional drip if it makes it through. Just using my large record power skew there. And then I'll make some details. Putting a couple of grooves around it. I went 2 and then I went split the difference, put one in between. Now having a good think about where that crack is and what I was going to form. Now I'm not a fan of this profile. I tried it, wasn't a fan. I was trying to use a detail spindle gouge profile, and I think I went a little too aggressive. It cut beautifully, but I think it was just a little too aggressive because, well, you'll see why shortly. I'm just coming in, forming a nice little cove there. Happy with how that's come out. Maybe, oh, there I go again. Give it a nice little catch. And hearing that little knocking, I'm going to have to inspect that in a second. But first, I'll just finish off that cove. So I'll stop it, have a look at how much damage that did. It did do a little bit. And what I've decided to do is put a step where that came out. So just making a nice little sharp edge at the bottom of that curve, just to really define it. And hide the catch. At this point I was thinking I was going to put a bead or something on the bottom. That didn't happen. Now, anyone out there judging my safety sandals, I'd just like you to know, I had a really nasty case of gout. It's the best I could do. And so, yeah, just working the best way I can, just so that I could get something made. So I'm doing my triple E, and then I'm putting on my wax. And that's come out an absolute treat. And then I'll flip it around, remove the screw center, and grab onto that tenon. And the first thing I'm going to do is eat that down and get past that crack. Now, I'm looking at this little wobble here. I highly suspect my tripod was touching my lathe. Because I shouldn't be rocking like that. You may notice the black staining on my hand there. You can thank Purple Gidgey for that. So I tried to make a couple of pens out of Purple Gidgey before this, and you might get a video on Friday. If anyone's not aware, there is a series that Sid and I do called Fubar Fridays. Sid had the first one, I'm due for the second. About this point, I'm thinking, how far do I take this before I start trying to form a bead? What shape do I want that bead to be? I think I said to myself, one more pass. No, maybe just one more. Maybe just one more. Every cut I'm doing, I'm trying to get used to that bevel of this tool. And I'm just trying to understand what it's wanting to do and just learn it. So as you can see, I am just practicing, and I decided to go for some cuts again. And I'm probably going to get another escape back here the way I'm going. Oop, dodged it that time. I decided I wanted to make this a little bit more hollow. So I've pulled out the round nose there, and I'm just making it a nice smooth interior. And then I get cocky. The scraper's working absolutely beautiful. I'm loving it. It's working so well. I'm very happy with it. And then I choose to royally make a mistake. And the snake I'm making coming up soon is one of the biggest mistakes I've made in my turning career. And right now I'm just starting to play with that bead. I got a catch, and I took a really big chunk out. That's not the mistake. It was a mistake, but it wasn't the mistake. So now I've decided I'm going to do something completely different and put a cove on the bottom. And I don't like it. It's hideous. It's absolutely hideous. I really don't like it. It's a nice lip to pick it up from when it's sitting on a table, but yeah, it's not something I enjoy. If I were going to go and do it all over again, I would have just got rid of the whole thing and just taken it up to the base of the original cove. Now, this is where I make my huge mistake. So, I went in with a cut there. And then I took a chunk out of my tool. So the entire front left corner there is missing. What happened is I went in on the wrong angle. I lifted it up. And then I tried to dig out the piece of metal that is still in the wood. And it didn't work. So I decided to cut around it with a couple of other tools, knowing that they'd need sharpening. Not going in deep enough so it flicks out and sends a bullet at me, but enough that I can get a chisel in and pop it out. And there we go. And because this worked so well the first time, I'm coming back to the round nose scraper and cleaning it up. So yeah, that was one of the biggest mistakes, if not the biggest. It was just sheer stupidity, and I should not have done it. Anyway, that's got a really nice finish, so I'm going to pull out the sandpaper and be done with it. Got a nice little cove underneath there. Again, not really a fan. But the interior came out nice. The top of it came out nice. Don't like that bottom wing with the cove. Just don't like it. So, lessons learned on this one, and having a look at the finished product now. So, what I was inspired by was a piece of Lego that had a flower pot on top of it, and I was like, I want to do something similar, but I wanted to make it my own. My original idea was going to be, it was going to be a tripod, and I got to the point where I didn't want to do a tripod, and so this was the end result. Stacks together nicely. This was the first thing my wife did when I gave it to her. Not all projects are a complete success, but at least I gave it a crack. Thanks for watching.